Hello and welcome to Tech Deals Cooler Master's C700M $440 full tower case. This thing is a beast and it's very expensive, but it does have like all the features. If you are looking for a super premium case for a super premium build, if you want something with all the room to add many drives, mount your graphics card vertically, have dual tempered side glass curved panels on the front and back, RGB built into the case on the front and bottom, not RGB fans, actual RGB built into the case. If you want USB 3.1 Type-C 10 gigabit per second panel ports on the front, if you want easy control of the RGB in the fans using on-case buttons, or addressable internally, your choice. If you want a modular case where the internals can be converted, turned 90 degrees, turned inside out. If you want to basically have full control over your build and even have room for dual 420 millimeter liquid radiator coolers, yes, you came to the right place. Now, this is not for most people. You may be looking at this video going, why should I care? Well, that's crazy. Who's going to spend $440 on a case? Odds are you aren't. Maybe 1% of potential PC builders would even consider a case of this price point. Far more people are going to be in, say, the $99 price point as opposed to the $440. If you're building a very nice machine in the $2,000 range, allow me to point you to the Cooler Master H500M. It is $200, less than half the price of this. Mesh on the front, beautiful RGB fans, great cable management, a very reasonable option for, say, a $2,000 Ryzen 7 2700X build. I recently did a build in the H500 non-M case, which is $99 in the Ryzen 5 2600. And for a $1,000 build, a $99 case is probably about right. This is not right for either a $1,000 or $2,000 build. This is more for like a $4,000 build. This is for a Threadripper or Skylake X or the upcoming Cascade Lake, maybe an i9 9900K if you're just going all out with RTX 2080 Ti and 32 gigs of RAM and you just maybe a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD and you go, you know what, I want an epic case. I don't want a 500 series case that everybody has that ranges from $99 to $200 and change. I want something that's special. Well, this is special. It's expensive and special. One of its unique features I mentioned already, the dual tempered side glass panels that are curved on the front and the back. My understanding is that those are actually quite hard to make, and the success rate, the actual panels that pass quality control are relatively low, so it's a rare feature. That's why cases like this H500M just have straight tempered glass, because it's much easier to make. So this is much more challenging. Its internal convertibility, its options, the dual 420 millimeter radiators. It does come with the vertical mount, and the vertical mount tilts. So you can have the card straight up, or you can have the card at an angle, and that's pretty cool. And it's got a huge ribbon cable included, so you can pretty much mount it anywhere. The length of the cable to run to the PCI Express slot is simply not an issue. This case comes with 4 140 millimeter fans already included, 3 in the front, 1 in the back. Those are not RGB fans because the case itself is RGB. As I mentioned before, the front panel has 2 addressable RGB strips running all the way down it with a number of built-in effects, or you can run it through a controller. And then there is RGB on the bottom of the case that bounces and reflects off of the feet as well. So the fans that are included aren't RGB. You could change them, but the front ones wouldn't really be visible with the way the front panel design is. The rear might be worth changing. If you want something pretty from the side, you might consider changing the rear 140 to RGB. And then there's room for 3 120 or 140 millimeter fans on the ceiling of the case. There's nothing mounted on the case. I suspect a lot of people going with a case like this are going to put like a 360 millimeter radiator up there, and you could certainly go with Cooler Master's addressable 360 millimeter RGB cooler up there if you want to put it on, say, an i9 9900K, run it at 5+ gigahertz. That would certainly make sense, and then just get a single RGB fan for the back if you want to go all out. But I'm not going to be putting an i9 9900K in this case. I'm going to be putting Threadripper, and I'm going to be using Cooler Master's new Wraith Ripper cooler. So here we have the Ryzen Threadripper 1950X. Yes, I know it's the first gen and the second gen is out. I've had that on the shelf for a while. 16 cores, 32 threads. That's going in a very nice X399 board with a bunch of other features. Yes, RGB RAM. Thank you, ADATA. And then it's going to be cooled using Cooler Master's own RGB Cooler Large Tower Air Cooler. I could certainly go with a liquid cooler. But to be blunt, with Threadripper, most of the liquid coolers, not all, but most of the liquid coolers, including Cooler Master's own 360mm liquid cooler, which I do have and it would fit in this case, it has a round cooling plate and it would not completely cover the integrated heat spreader of Threadripper. And so the thermal performance is a bit uneven. If you're going with Threadripper and you want a liquid cool, then you want a cooling plate that completely covers the integrated heat spreader. Or go with a Threadripper. I actually don't think that liquid cooling for most people is necessary. Here's why. I'm going to run this at stock speeds. I don't overclock production. This is something I've talked about in previous videos, but my Skylake X machine is not overclocked. This is not going to be overclocked, so it's going to be running at stock speeds. There's no need for liquid cooling if you're running at stock speeds. This is plenty. It'll run cool, it'll run quiet, and oh, by the way, it has RGB on it, so you know it's going to be Christmas under my desk. Now this video is really about this C700M, and I'm going to take this out of the box in a minute and turn it around and show you all of its wonderful features. It will be getting a build video in this. It'll be an abbreviated video. It won't be like the 2017 $4,000 Ultimate build, which was Skylake X, or the 2016 $4,000 Ultimate build, which was Broadwell E. It's 2 weeks to Black Friday, 2 weeks to Thanksgiving, and I don't have time. What I think more of you want to see is either a Ryzen 7 2700X or an i9 9900K in the H500M, which is what more of you are actually going to do. This is kind of a niche product. But I'm looking forward to building in this because this is their Halo product. This is their premium product. It's got all the stuff and all the features. And for the kind of system I'm going to be putting in here with lots of RAM and lots of NVMe SSDs and all the other storage that I add, plus this wonderful CPU, it's reasonably somewhat reasonable. How's that? So I have my box cutter here and we're going to take this out of the box. Now some of you watching this may go, where are you and what's going on? If you've not been watching the moving vlogs, we have a new filming studio. We are still in the process of moving in. The main filming room upstairs isn't ready yet. This is actually sort of, we're going to build gaming chairs here and do other sort of related stuff here. It's sort of a room that we're keeping open to do it. This thing is so big, this would not fit on my main desk back home. The desk that you've seen me on for the past year and a half on these YouTube videos, there's no way in the world this would fit in that small room. So I put it here on the floor and I'm just sitting here and I figure, okay, well, we'll give this a try. Maybe putting just like a folding table here and lifting everything up would have made sense, but hey, we're doing it on carpet because fun. Opening the C700M. You know, at least once during this video, I'm probably going to accidentally call it the C700P. The C700P was the previous model. That's, I think, been discontinued at this point. It was less expensive, but it was missing some of the RGB and missing some of the features. This is the new and improved model. I would, to be completely blunt, if I'm being honest, just the two of us, the price point of the C700P, the previous version, was more appealing. That one was $300. At $300, I could see the stretch over, say, a $200 case. At $440, this is truly rarefied air. This is not for everybody. Who should buy this? Well, if you just went out and bought yourself an iPhone XS Max and spent $1,400 on it, you're probably the market segment for this. If you're buying yourself a Threadripper or Skylake X, you are probably the market segment for this. If you just went out and bought one of those new $5,000 iMac Pros, yeah, you're the market segment for this. If you're putting 64 gigs of RGB RAM in your system and 2 terabytes of NVMe space, and you're spending $4,000 on your computer, yep, you guessed it, you're the market segment for this. Everyone else, go buy one of the H500 series instead. What do we have in here? Oh, well, this is nice. Make it yours. The Cosmos series is all about the freedom to be creative. That means embracing the exploration of different layouts and breaking away from the norm. These brackets, trays, and accessories are in the box, waiting to be part of your customized layout. In fairness to Cooler Master, this case is going to get a lot of flack from people over the price. There's a lot of extra things included, and while you probably can't see it, can I take this out? Quality products and quality packaging. They put the piece of paper in a plastic sleeve. Credit to Cooler Master. There is conventional layout. There is a chimney layout. There's an inverted layout. And there's all these extra parts. This case will take a while to configure if you want to change its standard configuration. If you want to alter this to something different, expect to spend several hours at least moving everything around, changing the screws, adding the plates, rearranging things, but you really only do it once. And if you're going to keep your computer for the next 3 to 5 years, if you're happy with its configuration, even if you upgrade parts within it, it's not that bad. The whole point here is choice, and the number of choice options they give you, that's pretty cool. If you're reading this, that means you've received this long-awaited Cosmos C700M and you can't wait to start building. Congratulations on spending $440. To help plan your build, this pamphlet shows a few different layout possibilities to encourage the freedom in being creative. There are much more options than just the 3 listed, so go ahead and mix it up. As an owner of the Cosmos C700M, we'd like to thank you for being a fellow enthusiast and a huge part of our inspiration. GLHF building. Good luck, have fun. There's another market segment to somebody who would buy this case over a 500 series. The 500 series starts at $99. The Master Box 500 series starts at like $50. Everybody and their brother has a 500 series. If you feel like being different and unique and having something that is in rarefied air, maybe you can't afford a new Cadillac or a Lexus. Maybe you can't afford some of the more extravagant, expensive things like the new 5K, $5,000 iMac Pro, and it's just outrageous. This gets you a case that 99.8% of all your fellow PC builders don't have, for an extra $240 over the cost of a H500M. It's inexpensive luxury if you want it. Let's see what we have. Oh, we have an actual user manual and a warranty information guide. For those of you looking at the length of this video going, really? This is meant to be fun. This is meant to just explore a really expensive case that I am fully aware most of you are not going to buy. Would I buy this personally? Maybe. I've bought full tower cases before. Maybe. Oh, that's actually really nice. There are a lot of pictures in here showing, well, it's not very, the paper isn't thick enough for me to just hold up and turn the pages, but this shows you so many different ways to customize. That's a lot of options. That is a lot of options. I have bought full tower cases before. My last 2 $4,000 Ultimate builds were built in full tower cases. Those were Corsair Obsidian 750Ds, no glass, no RGB, pretty simple. They are starting to age at this point. They still have USB 2 ports on the front, warranty information. This is sort of the next generation of that. Yes, Corsair has their Obsidian 1000D, which is meant to replace the 750D, but those are $500. Well, okay, granted, this is $450. We have an extra plate, which at this point, I'm not sure what it's for, but you have extra parts, so we'll toss that aside. Advice on removing cases from the box. Don't try to pull this out of the box. Turn the box upside down and lift the box off the case, which I will do now after trimming this, so it doesn't look silly.
That left the foam in the case, in the box. This is the bottom. This is the bottom. So we need to turn this upright. For those of you wondering, these are not decorative. These are handles. You can lift the whole case using them. So while honestly I would prefer handles on the front and back, they do it this way obviously for style and for appearance and to continue the Cosmos tradition, but these are not decorative. These are metal grab handles and you can lift the case with these. And they look like they're actually screwed in really well with multiple screws, and since they're made out of metal, you got yourself some nice handles. Let's take the plastic off, shall we? There is an absolute ton of protective tape on this thing. There is a big piece right here, and it goes straight over the top, probably to keep this top piece in. We'll take this off. That's not the thin film, so no fancy stuff there. And there's another big piece here. I wonder very nice. This case is not small, and you can see the glass right here. What's cool is these do not have to be screwed on and screwed off. They are held on by magnets, and the door swings 90 degrees out, allowing you to work on and access the inside of your computer without having to take it off. Most tempered glass panels, you have to unscrew screws or undo a key latch, pull it off, and put the glass aside. This just swings out. Now it also lifts up and comes off. These hinges here, it's resting on the hinge. You can pull this, I won't do it here, but you can pull this whole door up and then just set it off. When we build the case, we'll take the doors off, for example, but that just swings right in and it latches into place just like that with a magnet. That is pretty cool. On the top of the case, just pull up in the back and you just take off the entire top. Now, this is two pieces here. There's plastic and then there's a nice metal shroud. If you can see that all, there we go. It's nice and shiny and my light's right there. And then you can see all of the space. Oh, you gotta be careful with the door. The magnet is strong. It's not, it has its limits. It's not meant for tilting, obviously. But this is a completely open space where you can install large radiators without having to worry about cross brackets. Now there is a 5¼ inch drive bay. Serious question, when's the last time you saw a case in 2018 with a 5¼ inch drive bay? That's pretty cool. If you want to install a 240 millimeter liquid cooler here, however, you'll have to remove that drive bay. 360, 280s, etc. will all fit up here, but a 420 will not fit up here unless you remove that drive bay. That's pretty cool. And then this just snaps right back into place. Well, here's something I've never done. Just sat on the floor cross-legged next to a big, huge case. It's almost as big as me. It's as big as my 8-year-old. This front cover here has filtered mesh on the sides here for airflow. Some of you may be wondering, is this going to restrict airflow? Yes, it will. You have two options. Number one, this simply comes straight off, just like so. You don't have to leave this on if you don't want to. Do be aware, the front RGB lights are built into this. So if you want RGB on the front of your case, you kind of have to leave this on. I suppose you could, if you wanted to. You could put RGB fans in here and take this off, but you're spending way too much money to do that. That makes no sense. So this does provide filtered airflow, or take this off completely. The actual connectors are 6 pins on the bottom and they connect right here. So there's no ribbon cable for the power or for the LED connections to this. So it just comes on, goes right off, no fuss, no muss. So we'll set that aside. This basically provides you with a huge mesh. And actually I have to say, it looks pretty nice without the RGB in the front. I'll be completely blunt with you. When I'm actually using this machine, after I'm done building, after it's done being a showcase, this is probably how it's going to be left, because I care about airflow and temperatures, frankly, more than I care about the RGB. This will go under a desk and I'll never look at it again. But that's me. If you are going to put it on your desk or you care about the appearance, you can certainly do this. There are no fans by default in the top of the case. And for my configuration, I actually don't think I need fans. But if you want the front mesh cover, if you want the front RGB cover, then I would strongly encourage you to install exhaust fans on the top of the case to increase airflow. Because without it, you've got 3 fans in the front coming through these 2 small mesh bits right here, and then only a single 140 in the back. Yes, some heat will naturally radiate out of the top. This beautiful case is going to get quite hot under full load, say running Blender or running video encodes or whatever type of workload you're going to do on a Threadripper or Skylake X level chip. Without this cover in front, if you ditch the RGB, you may actually have enough airflow you don't need to. I have extra fans. I'm still going to install some extra fans on the top. The Wraith Ripper will cool the CPU, but that puts the heat inside the case. Fans on the top will help exhaust it out, so intake, exhaust, good airflow. So I'll put this on when I do the RGB shots when the build is complete, but I suspect I will probably just put it aside and leave it, because that actually looks quite nice. I like the simple plain black look. I mean, I don't need the RGB, to which you might say, well, then what are you buying the case for? To which my answer would be, try to buy a brand new designed case in 2018 that doesn't have, they all have RGB, so it is what it is. You still have the RGB on the feet. It shines down from the bottom and lights up the feet, which is pretty cool. And 5 1/4 inch drive bay. That's not very common these days. On the front panel, you have the main power button, reset switch, you have microphone and headphone jack, 4 USB 3.0 ports, and 1 USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-C 10 gigabit per second port. This is the first case that I have ever owned that has one of those. Lots of motherboards these days have a USB 3.1 header on the board. I've never had a case with one, so that'll definitely get hooked up. That's pretty exciting. And then right here is a fan controller and an RGB controller. If you want, let me just stick this back on. That is not hard to put back on. If you want the RGB, but you don't want to mess around with RGB software and you want a variety of effects, the RGB lights are right here on this side, and there's quite a variety of RGB effects that you can control in the front and the bottom without having to hook anything up to a board. If you want a taste of RGB with no fuss and no software running in Windows. You can also control the case fans here as well. Now the case fans can be plugged directly into the motherboard and be motherboard controlled, or you can do low, medium, and high speed. These are 1200 RPM, 140 millimeter fans. They should be very quiet. 1200 RPM is very, very slow. So that speed should provide for very good noise acoustics in this system. Turning the case around to the back, you'll notice it's a case. It has the same stuff every other case does. Now I mentioned this is convertible. You can invert it, you can convert it to a chimney configuration, so you can move everything around. I suspect that that's more of a halo feature. Raise your hands in the audience if you plan to do any of that. I suspect that most of you aren't going to move all that around because that is a monster amount of work. And then you've got cabling issues and whatever. You got your I/O place there, you've got your 140 millimeter fan, you've got your expansion slot options right here, and then you've got your power supply down on the bottom, all extremely standard. 2 nice things here that aren't standard are the grommet holes. You've got one right here, passed through in the case, and then you've got one right here. So you've got a place to run hoses and cables or things in and out of the case without needing to punch out extra holes or make no, and that's a nice feature. I have now taken both side panels off. In fact, you can see my arm right through here. An interesting point, and I don't know, in my research of this case, in my watching of the reviews, in my watching the videos on it, I don't know how I missed it. It is curved tempered glass on one side only. The other side is just a black metal panel. I don't know how I missed it. I said at the beginning of the video that it was curved tempered glass on both sides. It's not, and I'm human, what can I say? But it's not. But the more I look at the back of the case, the more I don't care, because it's a mess of wires back here. I'll turn it around in a minute. There actually are two 2.5-inch, basically SATA SSD mounting ports in the back, but you can only use one of them because one of them is currently occupied with the RGB controller, and it is the largest, fanciest RGB controller I've ever seen. I'll turn that around in a minute. You've got great grommets, great cable management space back here. Everything is movable and detachable. There's a great protective plate here for cables, tons of space. Let me show you something awesome. I'll zoom in on this. This is for your graphics card. This allows you to mount your graphics card either horizontally or vertically or partway in the middle. Why would you want to? I don't know. This is a thing. It's, I guess you either understand it or you don't. I'm not actually entirely sure why you wouldn't just mount your graphics card onto the motherboard like normal. Maybe because it's big and heavy and you mount it vertically and it takes the strain off the board. For cooling, the problem with cooling is unless you have a liquid-cooled graphics card, your fans are going to be right next to the glass and they'll get terrible airflow. Now you could compromise by doing a tilt of maybe 30 or 40 degrees, and then you'll get airflow in there, but then the back of the graphics card is kind of pointed down towards this is a big deal these days. This seems to be a loved feature, and this is nicely built. This is much better than many of the vertical mount brackets that I've seen. I will caution you, it's only built for a 2-slot card. If you've seen the new EVGA Ultra UCs or the For the Win 3 that are triple slot cards, they're not going to work in this. So, and I suspect, when I did the unboxing of the RTX 2080, quite a few of those cards were 2.5 slot cards. I have a funny feeling that this is perfectly sized for the reference boards, and that some of the aftermarket cards will not fit very well in this. I suspect, as much as Cooler Master doesn't want me to say this, when I actually build this, I'll play around with it, I'll see what it does, I'll see how it fits. I suspect I'm going to take this out and just put the graphics card on the motherboard, but we'll see how it goes. These trays down here allow for 3.5-inch hard drive installation. They are adjustable, they can be raised and lowered. You can get additional bays and install a lot more drives here if you want. There are a pair of 2.5-inch surface-mounted SATA ports right here to put serial ATA drives, such as a Samsung 860 EVO or a Crucial MX500 right there. But in terms of massive drive storage, this isn't like some of the older cases that could take 14 or 18 hard drives. I have some of those older cases where you literally could put that many hard drives. These days, first of all, hard drives aren't as much used, and second of all, if you really do have that many drives, you put them in an external enclosure. There's a video on my channel showing that, by the way, 64 terabytes. Search my channel, click down on my name, and then click search on the channel. Type in 64 terabytes. I have 8 terabyte 3.5-inch hard drives installed in a Mediasonic external enclosure. They're $250 for the enclosure. Plugs in via USB 3, and that lets me put all of my hard drives externally, separate from the computer itself. In here is just going a couple of drives, actually NVMe drives mostly. I might put in 1 or 2 SATA drives, but this machine is mostly just going to have 3 NVMe drives right on the board. Master accessory risery card. This is the thing for the GPU, and yeah, I might use it, I might not. Sorry, Cooler Master. And then you have a box here with probably 18 billion screws and other accessories. Oh wow, okay, this is nice. There is another 3.5-inch drive tray, so that's 3 of those included, and there's actually one more down here that I didn't notice before. So Included in this case, you can install 3.5-inch hard drives and 4 2.5-inch drives, 2 on the back wall, 1 on the floor here, and then 1 here in the back of the case. And who knows, there might be 1 or 2 others I still haven't discovered. There actually might be another one of these. And yeah, just a bag of parts. As I turn the case around, you can see the very fancy RGB controller back here with all the plugs. That actually takes up an entire 2.5-inch drive tray back here. You can see the spare one here. There's a large shroud here designed to cover up all the cables that are going to be plugged into everything to make it nice. And that's pretty much it. This has been the unboxing and first look of the Cooler Master C700M Cosmos $440 case. Is it worth it for the utility of the case? I haven't built with it yet, but I'm already going to say no. For $440, there isn't enough actual case in here. It's accessories and features, and it's nice. The RGB in the front, I'm sure, is gorgeous. I've seen the video of it. At some point, if I can, I'll put some B-roll in here. I'll do my own B-roll at some point. There's RGB on the top. There's RGB on the bottom. There's these grab handles. There's the vertical GPU mount. There's the cable that comes with it. There's the complete modular nature where you can configure everything, put it chimney inverted, turn the motherboard over. You can do a lot of stuff with it. But are you really going to do all of that? Does it really matter? Does this case actually do anything substantial over an H500M for less than half the price? My argument? No. This is a halo product designed to make the brand stand out. Companies make products like this not because they expect to sell tons of them. I genuinely believe if I had a Cooler Master representative sitting here and I said, do you expect this to be a volume product? They'd turn to me and go, no. Do you expect to sell millions of these? No. Is this meant to be nice and shiny so that people will notice your brand and go buy the 500 series? Yeah, but don't tell people that. So there you go. It is nice. There will be links down in the description below to this and to the other H500 series, the P, the M, and the non, to just the H500. They should have put a letter there. That's confusing. The H500 that I did the Ryzen 5 2600 build-in for $99 is a phenomenal value for the money. Go buy one of the 500 series unless you just have lots of money and you want to be special. Like this video if you like it, share it with your friends if you loved it. Remember to subscribe to my channel with a big huge red button directly below. Questions, comments, thoughts, feedback, suggestions, ideas in the comment section. Check the links in the video description. Links to all the H500 cases will be down there. And links to this as well, because maybe one of you watching this will actually buy one. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time.